we all have friends that found themselves in various predicaments throughout our life. And you can look at somebody, and even if you take issue with their choices and what they've done, you can still sit up there and look at them and say they're a friend.
Date your age, date your age. Well, I want to date my wage. I'm finna shut all this ish down tonight.
So word on the street is Shannon Sharpe has cut Stephen A. Smith all the way off, and not just on camera, behind the scenes too.
Jay-Z and Sean Diddy Combs, a 13-year-old girl more than 20 years ago, after an award show after party. I am not going to sit here and dismiss or excoriate Mr. Busby or his client, who's anonymous at this particular moment in time, and the allegations that she has leveled against Jay-Z. I'm telling you, I've known this man for 25 years. And I'm saying, for me, Stephen A. Smith, there is no way in hell I believe this about him. Anybody that's been around Jay-Z and knows him has seen him come to the defense of the most helpless amongst us, which are the children. I can't believe for 1 second that he would ever be associated with an allegation like this. And I felt it was important to bring that up because you got people out there. Stephen A., you have something to say about Diddy. Why aren't you going to have something to say about Jay-Z? Well, I don't know Diddy.
The man ain't answering his calls, texts, nothing. Why? Because Stephen A. couldn't keep his mouth shut during Shannon's legal mess, and now it's all blown up. Let's rewind for a sec. When the lawsuit first dropped against Shannon, the one involving an OnlyFans model who was 19 when they had a short thing, Stephen A. jumped on his show like clockwork.
Really was the interview with Stephen A. when he was speaking of it. And I was watching it very carefully, Killer.
Stephen A. said something about this already?
Yeah, because Stephen A., he didn't stand with Shannon Sharpe like he stood with Jay-Z. When he heard about Jay-Z, he said, the guy I know, this is not true. When it came to Shannon, he was like, I wasn't there.
Yo,
in a nutshell, yeah.
I gotta keep it static, you know what I'm saying? Because he wasn't there for Jay-Z neither. You wasn't there for Jay-Z. You were not there for Jay-Z, but you went out on a limb because of the character of guy you know. So I'm not saying that you're wrong for that. I'm saying I would have thought that the same standard would be there, right? If for a guy you work with every day.
Throwing slick shade. He didn't name names, but he sure made it clear who he was talking about. Talking like Shannon's career was done before ESPN or Disney even said a word. And fans were quick to clock it, like, why is he already acting like Shannon's out the door? Then, bam, a few days later, Stephen A. flips the whole script. Suddenly, he's acting like he's always been Team Shannon. He's out here saying he believes Shannon is innocent. But people aren't buying the switch-up, and neither is Shannon. Sources say he feels completely betrayed, like Stephen A. showed his true colors the moment things got messy. And guess who else isn't feeling Stephen's little 180? Mace. Yep, that Mace. He called Stephen A. straight-up snake for flipping sides the moment public opinion got hot.
Once you reached a certain stature, it's like the old folks always used to tell you, boy, don't let that money go to your head, right? And now, a lot of times, people just are who they are. And you're looking at Shannon, his brand has never really been anything that said he might not be into some of the things that we're learning, right? You could go back to the IG Live, or you could listen to some of the things that he promotes as sponsors of his show, or just certain ways he talks about women during Nightcap or whatever it is, right? Like, Unc ain't never hid that.
Folks in the media are whispering that Shannon's been suspecting Stephen's energy for a minute, especially since Club Shay Shay started popping off with viral interviews like the one with Cat Williams. As Shannon's star kept rising outside of ESPN, Stephen's vibe allegedly shifted from cool to cold. Insiders say Shannon's been peeped that low-key jealousy for a while, but now he's done pretending. He's ghosted Stephen A. completely, and folks close to him say the friendship is dead. Now, when all this heat started, Stephen A. got on air, acting like he felt bad, but the way he said it, it sounded like he already wrote Shannon off. And it didn't stop there. When reports came in that Shannon might be stepping back from ESPN, Stephen A. jumped at the chance to remind everyone how Disney doesn't play, and that once they see you as a liability, you're out. He even started throwing little jabs. talking about how he'd never let something like this mess up his career. Like, come on. It was giving "look at me, I'm better than him" vibes. And fans did not let that slide. Then, like clockwork, when folks on Twitter and even celebs started dragging Steven for being fake, he flipped again. Now suddenly he's defending Shannon like they're besties? Please. Fans noticed the hypocrisy too. When Jay-Z got accused of something serious by one of Diddy's accusers, Stephen A. rushed to defend him without hesitation. But with Shannon, his own colleague,
Stephen A., he didn't stand with Shannon Sharpe like he stood with Jay-Z. When he heard about Jay-Z, he said, "The guy I know, this is not true." When it came to Shannon, he was like, I wasn't there.
he hesitated, shaded, and only showed support after getting called out. But here's where things get extra shady. Stephen A. didn't show that same loyalty to his own friend Shannon. Even though the Jay-Z situation and Shannon's drama aren't the same, people still felt like Stephen was acting real funny, and Mays didn't hold back. He called Stephen out on his podcast, saying it's crazy that Shannon stood up for Jay-Z without knowing all the details, but Stephen couldn't do the same for him. And just like clockwork, right after Mace's comments went viral, Stephen A. pulled a complete U-turn. Now he's out here pretending he's always been ride or die for Shannon. He even went on Big Boy's show, bringing up Shannon's lawsuit again and suddenly claiming it looks like Shannon is getting set up. For real, after all that flip-flopping, Stephen even started hinting.
Sounds like a setup.
Mm-hmm.
But if you sit back and look at the overall situation, you say this ain't no setup. This is a who been in the league and been amongst elite blacks and white people for most of his life.
Mm-hmm.
He live in a white community. He been around white people for over 30 years. Boy got a thing for white. He like young white. He really want a 17-year-old, but he can't. He 18-year-old or 20-year-old. So here it is, he at the gym working out. He's showing up at the gym with them big old black legs, that big old print showing in them sweatpants, squatting, sweating out his ass with them big old muscles. Now here it is, this little white girl.
That people have been jealous of Shannon ever since Club Shay Shay blew up, especially after that wild Cat Williams interview lit the internet on fire. But fans aren't trying to hear Stephen lecture anybody about loyalty when he's been the biggest switch-up artist in this whole saga.
Put her on the treadmill. They making eye contact. Who set that up? Who put her there? Who put him there? And who knew they was going to be attracted to each other to start? Who set that up? Now, if you watch his interview and you sit back and listen to him and Ocho Cinco talk, and he talk about what he do and what he don't do, well, you see he a weenie with the women. He really mean to women. You sit back, man, I don't do this. I don't do, no, man, you mean to women. You ain't no Mac. You don't even know how to sweet talk women. So you see he really a weenie to women. He just got a big old black with the big old muscles. But he's not a charming man. You see, man, he mean, authoritative, and he regimented. No, he's not appealing. So the white girl just playing off the big black.
They're calling him out hard, saying the only reason he's suddenly backing Shannon is because Mays embarrassed him publicly. Let's not forget.
He ain't handsome. He ain't the handsomest big black in the world, and he look like a gorilla. Big black gorilla, silverback. And he mean. So she figures she getting this big black, but in the process of getting this big old black, he mean. You know, I'm gonna choke you when I see you tomorrow. Man, just that's all. Yeah, this is a baby. You try to. So she don't want to be treated like a grown woman. She just want this big old black and let her be irresponsible. He trying to make her responsible and all that other. So now ain't nobody set that up, man.
Stephen was the first to post a whole video about Shannon's lawsuit before Shannon had even said a word about leaving ESPN. One fan dragged him online saying Stephen's halfway in, halfway out. That ain't loyalty. And another added, he went all in for Jay-Z, but now he's backtracking like his first post was some powerful stand for Shannon. Nah, we see the switch up. Someone else wrote, the energy he had for Jay-Z was loud and clear, but when it came to Shannon, it felt like he already knew ESPN was going to cut him loose. But here's where things really get complicated. Some fans aren't even trying to defend Shannon at all. They're saying he doesn't need anyone jumping in for him, because no matter what parts of that lawsuit turn out to be true or false, he's still a 54-year-old man who chose to mess around with a 19-year-old. And reports say there were some disturbing race play allegations involved too.
The whole thing with Shannon Sharpe is actually crazy, because how are you even entertaining the conversation after put a big black baby in me? Put a big black baby in me? It's honestly giving that you just have like some sort of racist fetish. Like, you know how when people get with different races and they just play, you know, slave and owner. That's what it's giving when I was reading those text messages. Because what you mean 25,000 a cheap?
So for a lot of people, Shannon's not exactly the victim here. And just when you thought it couldn't get messier, more women are now stepping forward with accusations. It's looking like this might not be an isolated incident at all. According to the U.S. Sun, Shannon's ex-girlfriend, Michelle Evans, filed another lawsuit back in late 2023. And the claims? They're disturbing. Evans says she and Shannon were together for almost 10 years, but everything fell apart in 2010 when she confronted him about cheating. She alleges that after the argument, things turned dark. Evans says Shannon threatened to destroy her reputation if she ever went public, and then things got violent. In the lawsuit, she describes a horrifying scene. She claims Shannon forcefully subdued her, made her get on her knees, and engaged in non-consensual acts. Even though she says she protested, he didn't stop. According to her, things escalated even more.
Gonna see me excoriating him. You ain't gonna see me disrespecting him. You're not gonna see me stripping him of my support. I can tell you what I think you right and you wrong about.
She says Shannon pushed her onto the bed and forced himself on her, saying twisted things like he was going to make sure no other man would want her. The language in the lawsuit is chilling. Evans says she was too scared to fight back, worried that resisting him would only make things worse. Evans claims that after the alleged assault, Shannon didn't just walk away. He allegedly threatened to ruin her life if she ever spoke out. She says he warned her that he'd use every connection he had to destroy her reputation. That's when she filed for a restraining order, back when Shannon was still working at CBS Sports. In those court papers, Evans said Shannon was calling her nonstop, threatening her life, tracking her every move, and even calling to say, "I'm watching you," terrifying stuff.
It's a sad situation. Shannon Sharpe is somebody I work with a couple of days a week. Shannon Sharpe is somebody that I brought to ESPN. To be clear, even though this podcast, this YouTube show is owned and operated by me solely, it doesn't mean that I'm going to be dismissive of ESPN, who employs me in my daytime job on First Take. So I sit here before you today letting you know that they are aware that this is a subject that I was going to broach, because I owe them that courtesy. I am the executive producer of First Take on ESPN.
After news of the restraining order and the serious accusations broke in 2010, Shannon suddenly announced he was stepping away from his CBS show. But get this, just as fast as the headlines appeared, they disappeared. The whole thing got swept under the rug, and Shannon's career didn't miss a beat. He bounced right back and kept climbing. Now, Michelle Evans is suing him again, this time for defamation. She says Shannon went public and talked about their past legal issues, dragging her name through the mud. According to her, all this public attention caused emotional damage and wrecked her image. Evans didn't stop there. She also came out in support of Gabriella Zinga, the OnlyFans model who's suing Shannon now.
I recruited Shannon. I went and got him and brought him to ESPN. But I'm not the boss. Those are other folks. There are layers to this, and there are certain layers even I am not on. I can tell you, I also spoke as co-chairman of Disney, the boss, Jimmy Pitaro, who made it very, very clear we are taking this matter very seriously, and we are looking into this very, very closely. In my perfect world, he moves on. And somehow, some way, we find this all to be false. But it doesn't seem.
And she's accusing Shannon of exposing Gabriella on purpose, trying to discredit her by putting her name and her OnlyFans account out in public. Evans told the U.S. Sun, "I want people to understand what Shannon did to this woman. By doxing her, by putting out her name, by putting out her OnlyFans account, that was horrifying because things are going to happen to her because of that." And because of all that, most fans aren't feeling one bit sorry for Shannon. A lot of folks online are saying this ain't new behavior. It's just more proof of a disturbing pattern. Even folks in the sports world are speaking out.
Like that's the way things are about to go down, considering who Mr. Busby is and how emphatic his client is proclaiming that she is right and she's telling the truth. I have no idea what direction ESPN and Walt Disney will go in when it comes to this matter. All I do know is it won't be me making a decision. It'll be others upstairs. In the end, all of us have someone to answer to. No matter how maverick we try to be, and we own our own business, and we're our sole proprietors like I am on this platform and stuff like that. There are advertisers, there are sponsors, there are people you do business with, there are partners, and there are bosses. That's the situation, unfortunately, that Shannon Sharpe finds himself in.
Former NFL player and ESPN analyst Ryan Clark said that what Shannon's being accused of lines up with the tough, aggressive image he's been pushing for years. And Charleston White didn't hold back either.
What the two teams that call me on show say, what's your phone number, where you gonna be?
Who that?
Cool.
He said people need to stop spinning it like Shannon got set up. According to Charleston, Shannon set himself up by getting involved with a woman young enough to be his granddaughter. Harsh words, but that's what people are saying. And it's not just the lawsuits or rumors. Clips are surfacing that have people questioning Shannon's state of mind. One moment that went viral came from the April 30th episode of Nightcap, when he was on air with Chad Okocinco Johnson and guest Joe Johnson. While they were talking about the 2025 NFL Draft, Shannon suddenly looked off camera and snapped, yelling, "Shut the F up." The clip blew up online and had people asking if Shannon's got some serious anger issues behind the scenes. With everything coming out, the lawsuits, the public outbursts, the disturbing details, it's no surprise the sympathy for Shannon is running out fast. Folks are saying he made his choices, and now he's got to face the fallout. Meanwhile, Stephen A. Smith is catching heat again. Fans are calling him the king of flip-flopping. They've noticed he's the one who keeps bringing Shannon's name up, keeping all the mess in the headline.
You want to walk around thinking you can do what you want to do when you want to do it. You could your own operation. You don't have to answer to anybody. That's not true. I've had people open their mouth and they've said, "Stephen A., you work for ESPN. What kind of control do you really have? This is my podcast. This is my YouTube show. I own this. But if you think for 1 second that I could just do what I want to do, when I want to do it, how I want to do it, and there's not going to be any repercussions, you're clueless. And you're destined to fail and fall on your face." Some people sit up there and they look at me and they say, "Stephen A. don't get himself in this kind of trouble. How does he pull it off?" Well, first of all, there's certain behaviors and proclivities that you never have to worry about me engaging in. But most importantly than that, I often say this about Walt Disney. I'd rather work for a place with standards than one looking for them.
Some are even saying Stephen A. is secretly enjoying Shannon's downfall, pretending to help while actually piling on. Because let's be real, if Stephen A. really cared, he could have stayed quiet. Instead, he jumped on his show and talked for 30 minutes about how Disney and ESPN don't play when it comes to their image, basically throwing more fuel on the fire. One fan put it like this: "Stephen A.'s the kind of dude who tells the boss you were late."
This 3-time Super Bowl champion and this Hall of Famer who emphatically stated to me over the phone how innocent he is of these allegations that have been levied against him, insisting repeatedly that anything you read, anything you see, anything you hear was fully and totally consensual. In the same breath, what's inescapable is that without us knowing all the merits, he was working with Disney, where I've worked since 2003, excluding my departure from 2009 to 2011, when I was gone for those 2 years. Outside of that, I've been at Disney since October of 2003. I know this place. I know the worldwide leader that is ESPN, who's under the umbrella of Disney. And it wasn't difficult for me to figure out what was transpiring. They didn't need any definitive evidence at this particular moment in time about all of that stuff. Once all the things Shannon Sharpe's lawyer put out there, it was uncomfortable to listen to. And it was not something that Walt Disney once associated with its brand. So to have him on the airwaves while all of that stuff was put out there was not something that Disney was going to take. That is what I mean when I say I'm not surprised.
Just so he can take your spot, natural-born snake. Another added, if Stephen A. really wants to help Shannon, he needs to shut up. All this talking ain't helping nobody. Stephen A. switched up fast, calling Shannon his friend after being the first one to speak on him like his career was already finished. So now we gotta ask, was Mays right? Is Stephen A. really showing double standards? Is he just a fake friend playing both sides? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Whose side are you on, Shannon or Stephen A.? Don't forget to like, share, and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next, because it's only getting wilder.